Hey everybody, welcome back to ChortleCast. I'm Jake, and with me as always, Steven, the Stream King, the King of Thieves, and the man who's going to be upset about probably 50% of the topics we talk about today regarding Marvel. Steven, say hi.
That's a low ball of my level of upsettedness.
Oh, I could have gone higher?
You could have gone higher.
Oh.
Let's see.
I was trying to be
Can
generous,
Marvel,
you know. We always talk about I'm the optimist. Steven's the negative, you know.
Yeah. I'm a realist. A pessimist is what an optimist calls a realist. You know?
Pessimist is the word that escaped me, so thank you for being smart and remembering that word. And this is ChortleCast, the official podcast of Chortle Games, where we talk about video games, movies, TV shows, anime, whatever the heck we want to talk about. We got a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about the, quote, new Nintendo Switch model, which isn't really what it sounds like, so everybody just calm down. And then we're going to talk about the new Witcher trailer, and then we have a butt ton of Marvel news because they announced Phase 4, and we now have a lot of new details, and we're going to talk a lot about them. And
we're going to talk about it.
Great show. But before we do that, Steven, let's catch up a little bit. Last night, we did the Eater of Worlds raid, and spoiler alert, we beat it. What did you think?
It was fun. I had expressed concern in the past about Lumina and how I was worried that it wouldn't be viable in the raid because when we play modes like Menagerie or Blinding Well or the Forges, I have a hard time keeping up because it's just you're doing these activities with these people who are just decked out with guns that can wipe out groups of enemies with one shot, and I'm not doing a lot of damage because enemies for those activities are scaled up. But Lumina did good. I feel like it actually was contributing, not to the level that I would have liked because, again, the noble rounds don't stack with the Well of Radiance. But
you were able to use those because there were 2 damage phases that happened back to back.
Yes.
And so you used your Dawn Blade when we were all together, and then you'd pop a couple noble rounds at us as we were separated. So I thought that worked out beautifully.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself that, like, anyone who was watching the raid, please give me feedback. But I felt like I kind of, it clicked because when I was defending the solar pit with Jeremy, I was able to kill, buff him, get my abilities back quicker, use my healing grenades and rift and stuff. And then when he would be like, all right, I'm going to take this cranium over to Arc, I would just be like, okay, and as he was jumping, I would lead him, shoot him with a noble round, get my ability regen going, pop everything. So I feel like it clicked. I had a pretty good rhythm going with Lumina, so I had a good time.
So are you telling me, Steven, that you'd be interested in doing more raids because it sounds like Lumina is more effective in raids?
Lumina is effective in raids that are more mechanic driven because you split up a lot. Lumina is more useful when you have to split up, and there is a extremely high light advantage in favor of the Guardians. But I will say, I mean, again, the fact that I did this raid with you to begin with shows that I'll pretty much do whatever you ask me to do. So,
well, how do you feel about doing this raid again? Because we did it for a cape, and I didn't get the cape, and so this is a problem.
So Jake tells me, he's like, yeah, we need to do Eater of Worlds completion to get this cape. I just need to get some tokens and then complete it, and then I can buy it from Warner. And then Warner ended up not having it this week. So I thought, okay, it's fine. At least we can get the Eater of the Worlds completion out of the way. Jake tells me 45 seconds before we go live, by the way, if I don't get it from one of these 3 chests, I have to do this raid again because it's week of completion. And I lost my mind a little bit. I wish that it was recorded because I yelled.
There's a lot of things we did before we started streaming that I wish we had recorded, like watching the I Think You Should Leave clip with Jeremy from 8-Bit Gamesters, and then my reaction to Mr. Scott, who was our 6th Guardian with us, his arrival. Yes. I got real excited. But anyway, yeah, I'm real upset we didn't get the cape. But like thinking about it now, I don't think I got any Callus tokens from it. Maybe I did, and I just haven't noticed it yet. But like tokens aren't a thing anymore. So number one, I don't even know if I have 30 tokens to get the cape from Warner or Benedict. But then also I'd have to complete the raid that week, and that's never going to happen.
Have you considered the fact, Jake, that raid armor is year 1, and you need year 2 armor? Because if you wear year 1 piece, you have less opportunities to mod it and masterwork it, and it's just all in all a worse piece of gear.
Steven, I don't think you understand how I play Destiny. I play Destiny for looks.
Yeah, you play what do they call it?
I play a game of fashion.
If this was Dark Souls, they'd call it Fashion Souls.
Yeah, I'm playing Fashion Destiny right now is what I'm doing. I don't know. There's part of me that's like, I really hate we didn't get this cape, but there's also a part of me that knows like I'm never ever going to do that raid again. So I'm a little sad, but I'm also like, okay, I need to move on. I need to just decide on a different cape. So maybe they'll come out with something cool that I can actually attain in
right. And honestly, I feel like when we did it, the run we actually were able to complete. Okay, first of all, when we were at the phase before the final boss,
yes,
we made that so difficult on ourselves, and I'm so angry that it took us as long, because we spent like what, an hour doing that.
Yeah, and what was happening? The way this works, there's you get to the final boss area, and the boss is trapped, so to say, in this Vex cage, and you have to open it up by tearing off piece by piece by shooting it with elemental cannons at the proper elements.
And that's basically
every Eater of Worlds for Dummies video that I watched. None of them, to be fair, none of them specify that it has to be done at the same time, but none of them don't specify that. And it's specified for the last phase when you're fighting the boss. So for whatever reason, I think it's how we did it the first time too. We just assumed, no, this all has to happen at the same time.
Which is probably why it took us so long when we did it the first time.
Oh, well, man, once we did that it was like, we did it
literally
in 2 tries after that.
Was it 2 tries?
2 or 3. It was not long.
It was so quick because it was just so much easier.
It was so much more efficient.
In the last run, honestly, I feel like when we actually were able to get in our rhythm of having at least 2 craniums to fire, and then the Well of Radiance being there, Jeremy had his rally barricade, and we had heavy ammo. It was easy.
So I hesitate to tell you this, Steven, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So you remember, I'm sure you'll remember, there was one try briefly after Scott had the conversation with Austin, because Austin had to have been the MVP in the damage phases.
Austin's damage was nuts.
He was getting like 2 million damage easy, and so finally Scott was like, Austin, what are you using? Like, what's your rig? And he was explaining some stuff, and he was like, yeah, I'm using Sweet Business, man. Like, this is great. And
Jeremy was the one that inspired him to use Sweet Business.
I know. But anyway, they talked about their gear. And Scott was like, I think I'm going to get Sweet Business. I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to do this. And somebody was talking about trace rifles and everything. And I was like, what do I have? And so this is what I had. I had La Monarque, which I was using just to fight enemies. And then when we went into a damage phase, I had Hammerhead, which is a great power weapon.
Excellent gun. That's what I used.
Heavy machine gun. And I would use that. The problem was I wasn't getting enough power ammo. So like I'd have maybe 10 seconds of use out of that thing every damage phase.
Right.
And then I'd switch to the only other fast firing weapon that I had, which was a sidearm, because I was using La Monarque. And so at that moment when they all said, let me switch some things around, I was like, what could I do? And so they said trace rifle, and I was like, oh yeah, I've got hard light. Let me just pull hard light out, and I'll use my Black Armory bow
rifle.
to just run around and fight. But then when it's time to get serious, I'll use that.
Right.
That is when everything changed.
That you used hard light?
Yeah.
That's not a trace rifle.
Well, I know, but it's a fast firing elemental.
Right.
The very first round that I did that was the one that, like, in one damage phase we almost had him down to half health.
We over-halved him. Yeah.
You were like, "Oh my gosh, that was that was an amazing damage phase," and I was just like, "Oh my god, I've been holding us back so hard."
Well, let me help you feel a little better, but not too much better. Hard light wouldn't have made that much of a difference.
Well, but it was the fact that I was hitting the boss so much more than I was before.
Right. A lot more things clicked, but also, see, I saw your loadout that you had Smuggler's Word.
Yeah,
as
that was
your sidearm.
Sidearm, yeah.
And I didn't want to call you out in the middle of the raid because I didn't want, when Scott asked, "What are you hitting the boss with?" I almost said, "He's hitting him with a freaking sidearm," because I knew, but I didn't because I knew that'd be mean.
To be fair, I was not planning on using it. It was just there.
Right.
Again,
it was just your backup.
I play a game of fashion, and so I like my secondary weapon to be something small that you don't notice on my person, so that you can see my outfit. I don't like having like the heavy machine gun on my back.
Just use an SMG.
Say again?
You just use an SMG.
No, but those are two. They don't. It covers my cape.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's bad. See,
so does your bow.
The only thing I'll accept is like if there's a sword back there. So like I've got Quick Fang as kind of I'm just hanging out power weapon, and so it looks real good on my hunter.
Okay.
But anyway.
Well, the point is, I think that around the time you switched to hard light, that was around the time that everyone switched to Sweet Business, and that everyone firing Sweet Business and us having at least 2 craniums ready to go each damage phase, along with everyone actually using the Well of Radiance and the Rally Barricade to prevent reloads.
Right.
That was the moment it clicked because I didn't change anything. I didn't change anything the whole time because I was fine. I was able to deal moderate damage throughout. I was very rarely able to deal high damage, and that was when I had Hammerhead out. But using Lumina to give us survivability during the ad phases was important enough to where I kept it. I almost switched to Bad Juju, but then I realized I wouldn't be getting enough frequent kills to justify it. Because Bad Juju is definitely more of a horde mode kind of gun.
Yeah.
But Lumina did great, and we completed it. It was a good time. We had a really good crew. We had it was you, me, Jeremy. Jeremy's back in Destiny, so whenever we do our tea time, if it's Destiny, you might see Big Germ there.
It'll probably be Destiny, but Big Germ.
It's always going to be Austin. Shout out to Austin if you're in the chat. Thanks again. Austin's brother Colin, and then Mr. Scott, who we've talked about him probably a couple times on the channel. Mr. Scott is a guy who actually was pretty well connected with FFG.
Yeah.
Back when they were younger than us, even years ago, and he is the founder of the dodgeball ministry that I do now. So there's a bunch of weird connections with Scott, but he's been like a good friend of ours for the past several years, and he's been into Destiny. We just haven't pulled him into a run.
He's probably
but we finally did.
I hesitate to say this, but he's probably one of the best Destiny players we know. Like Austin's probably better at this point.
Scott has such a level of just understanding of the game because he's been there since the beginning.
Right.
And he's just always been around, and he keeps coming back to it. So Scott has just a level of competence that you don't see from a lot of people who are coming in after skipping several seasons or coming into Destiny 2 fresh, or people who've played Destiny 2 the whole time but never played Destiny 1. Because Scott was able to like recall stuff from Vault of Glass and say like, it's like this from Vault of Glass. And so he had a higher level of understanding of certain things, even though one of those things he and I both had wrong because we were comparing it to Destiny, but we're not going to talk about that. But it was a good time. I'm glad we did it, even though it was completely pointless. Don't ever question my friendship.
Oh, I don't question any of your friendship. In fact, I cherish it greatly.
Excellent.
But yeah, and then Steven, you've been playing a lot of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I think we've got 2 streams on the channel of it right now. Yes. But you haven't actually gotten to talk about what you thought. So what are your thoughts on it so far?
So a lot of people are disappointed. A lot of people are loving it. If you played the first one, and I'm going to dive a little bit deep here, but if you played the first one, you'll remember the roster was very well-rounded, had pretty much characters from all corners of the Marvel Universe aside from the cosmic stuff. There weren't many cosmic heroes. And there were a lot of abilities to choose from. I think every hero had at least 6 abilities that they could slot, but they could only have 4 at a time. And the story was one of those stories that kind of touched every corner of the Marvel Universe. So it did feel like a love letter to Marvel. But it didn't age very well. The combat was probably overly simplistic, and even though it had the deeper RPG mechanics to an extent, it felt lacking to play it a little bit. Then fast forward to Marvel Ultimate.
You're talking about older ones
still. This is the first one, yes. Yeah. I'm saying all this to address why people are disappointed or pleased with 3. It's important, I promise. I'm not just doing a pointless history lesson.
No, I was just making sure we were...
Yeah, and then Ultimate Alliance 2 comes around, and it's right after the Civil War storyline ended in the comics, so we got the Civil War storyline. So it was a very close-in story where you don't get any of the cosmic stuff. You miss out on a lot of characters. The roster was much more limited. It felt like it was more split in half between villains and heroes. The gameplay was better than the first game, but it lacked a lot of the depth and the large roster and the story that felt like it impacted everything. But abilities could change over time, and that was kind of cool. Like, you could upgrade one ability so many times, and then suddenly it had a new feature to it. And that game is honestly what got me interested in Iron Fist as a character, because he was a healer in that game. So that was cool. So there were a lot of little things about 2 that people liked, but ultimately people liked 1 better. Then fast forward to Ultimate Alliance 3. It has the most impressive roster by a large margin. Like, it's over 30-some characters, I think. And they're adding more characters over time. Like, they're adding 2 free DLC characters August 30th. That's going to be Cyclops and Colossus. Right. Can't wait for Cyclops. He's one of my mains. Then they're adding DLC packs.
They're adding like the Marvel Knights or something.
Yeah, Marvel Knights, X-Men, and Fantastic Four. And the Marvel Knights is going to be Punisher, Moon Knight, Blade, and Morbius.
Yeah, I really like all that lineup right there. Is a good one.
Yeah, they're adding a lot over time. But to address those individual, so the roster right off the bat is the best roster we've gotten. I challenge anyone to argue that point. It's the best roster. It just is.
Does it have more than any other, or does it just have a great selection?
Oh, it's more.
Okay.
It's definitely more, and the selection is better because you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, the X-Men, a few cosmic characters, mystic characters, the Defenders, a Fantastic Four are going to be coming. Like it's a all-encompassing roster. It's bigger and better. Then fast forward over to the story. The story is something familiar where it's the Infinity Stones. But it's...
Wait, what are those?
That's funny. It's told in such a way where, in the MCU's way of telling the Infinity Saga very much felt like everything had to be fit in a bottle to where it was these characters that we already know. But in Ultimate Alliance 3, the Infinity Stones through... the act of Star-Lord, which Star-Lord is actually a hero in this game. Like, he's not a bumbling idiot. Like, who would have thought? Like,
who would have thunk?
Who'd have thunk that Star-Lord's actually a good character if you just don't play him for laughs every don't worry about it. Never mind. But the stones all end up on Earth, and they end up in the hands of different aspects of the Marvel Universe. So you end up on the raft as the Guardians of the Galaxy and you run into Spider-Man, and then you find out, oh shoot, Goblin has the Time Stone. And then you find out Ultron has the Mind Stone, which is terrifying. And that Dormammu has the Reality Stone, which is really terrifying. So you're taking all these characters and seeing interactions that are really interesting to see, like Rocket and Tony talk to each other. Like Rocket goes up to the teleporting dog that's with the Inhumans. I can't believe I forgot it. Lockjaw.
Yeah.
He goes up to Lockjaw and he's like, "Is that a teleporting dog? I guess I've seen everything." And then Iron Man goes up and says the raccoon with the giant gun. And it's like, that's a good pairing.
That's nice.
But so I would say the story, maybe not the writing, but the story itself, like the execution, is best out of the series we've gotten so far. So right there, you've got best roster and best story, I would say, out of the three. And then you move into the gameplay and the depth, and this is all getting somewhere, I promise. Each character has 4 abilities that don't seem to have that much progression in how they upgrade, but the abilities are all useful. Star-Lord, for example, he's going to be kind of like my main comparison for a lot of this. He uses his element gun. So he actually, which people who only watch the movies, Star-Lord actually has a really cool gun that can conjure elements. So he's kind of like an elementalist gunslinger. And you guys wonder why I like him so much. But Star-Lord can create a tornado. He can shoot lightning bolts around him. He can do a flamethrower, and then he can rain down an ice barrage. Those are his 4 abilities. But what heightens everything, and they had a little bit of this in 2, but they expanded on it in 3, is that each ability has the potential to combo with another ability. So if I shoot a tornado as Star-Lord, Drax could come up and cut the tornado with his knives using one of his abilities, and it'll send out blades of wind around the place. So there is more depth in combat in that you are comboing characters with each other. So while the button prompts and everything haven't changed much, like you've still got your light attacks, your heavy attacks, and 4 abilities haven't changed. That's been a staple of the franchise. There is depth in who you bring to the party,
to combo.
like who can combo off each other. And that's one of the reasons Star-Lord's so great, is because he can combo off himself instantly. Because he can create a tornado and then either ignite the tornado with fire, turn it into an electric tornado, or make it an ice tornado. So those thoughts have to happen of like, how am I gonna, like, who's my primer, who's my detonator? If you want to go back to our Anthem days, you remember that game, Anthem?
Wait, Anthem? What is that?
Yeah. So I would say the combat is the best in the series. It doesn't have as much ability depth, like individual ability depth, as 2 did, and there are only 4 to choose from, which 2 also had that. So 1 has a slight advantage over it in the fact that there were 6 rather than 4. But all of the abilities in 3 feel like they matter and are important and useful, you know? So I would say the combat's the best. And then lastly, I would say probably the voice acting. I'm not going to talk about the voice acting in the previous 2 games because I wasn't attached to them enough to remember the voice acting. But it just goes, it needs to be said. The voice acting in this game is incredible.
Yeah.
Not because the performances are overly great. Like, I'm not going to detect all this emotion that makes me feel something out of Rocket Raccoon's performance.
Right.
But the fact that Rocket sounds just like his MCU counterpart, so does Star-Lord, so does Iron Man, and yet Spider-Man they got Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Spider-Man from Spider-Man PS4, to voice Spider-Man in this game. So it almost feels like almost a love letter to me, because all of my most memorable versions of those characters are represented here.
Right.
So you've got those MCU versions, and then you've got Yuri's Spider-Man, and then you've got Deadpool voiced by Nolan North, who is the voice of video game Deadpool. You've got Steve Bloom as Wolverine, and he's the iconic video game Wolverine. So it really does feel like they brought in all this great voice talent to even, I told you this, Dr. Octopus, he's one fight, and he has like a few lines of dialogue, but he sounds just like his PS4 counterpart. It might be the same guy.
Yeah.
So it just feels like there was a lot of love put into even the voice acting to make it feel familiar.
I really do like that they went out and tried to, hey, you voiced this character before, you want to do it again? Yeah. Like that's nice. That's a nice touch.
And that's such a small thing, but that comes off so important because I think Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, the voice of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, those voices just were off. Like I joked saying Doctor Strange sounded more like a Jewish rabbi, and Peter Parker sounded like an 8-year-old kid pretty much. And so it can make a difference. And when there's so much dialogue happening in this game and there are fully voiced cutscenes and everything, it makes a difference. It adds more of a connection. So that's definitely impressive. There's a lot of replay value. There's Infinity Trials that I'm not going to talk about. But all in all, I would say that it's pretty apparent to me that this is the best the franchise has ever been. Is it the best in every way? No. But all in all,
for this franchise, for this game and the style of game, this is the best that they've done.
For Ultimate Alliance, even though 1 did a couple things better than 3 and 2 did a couple things better than 3, 3 is in large part the best the Marvel Ultimate Alliance franchise has ever been. And I strongly recommend that if you have a Switch and if you are a Marvel fan, that you play it, because it really does feel like a love letter to Marvel fans that have been consuming it through the movies and the video games and so on. So I've had a blast. I am excited for us to record a Let's Play of it because I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, you're selling me on this, and I'm sure as soon as I play it, I'm going to be like, I need this. I'm going to have to get this.
Yeah. It's just a lot of fun. And we'll have a lot of fun playing it.
I can't wait. Let's talk about, let's get into some news. Speaking of the
Switch.
Yeah. So, Steven, Nintendo came out and announced their new Nintendo Switch Lite, right? We're real excited about it. Yada, yada, yada. People are like, oh, hey, does this confirm like a Switch Pro that could be coming out later? And Nintendo makes a statement that's like, no, we don't have any other consoles coming out, yada, yada, yada. Like, this is it. Maybe after 2020, we might have something to announce, yada, yada, whatever. Well, then they announce, hey, I don't even think they announced it. I think this is just a thing that happened and people made a news story out of it. Nintendo releases a new model of the Nintendo Switch. They release a new model that has better battery life. And it's actually a pretty surprising amount of battery life. This new one has a 4.5 to 9 hour battery life, whereas the original one had a 2.5 to 6.5 battery
2 hour
life.
jump.
That's hours that I'm talking about too.
Yeah.
I've got a cat climbing my shoulder and sniffing.
So my question for that.
Yes.
You remember when we were talking about the Switch Lite and we were like, hey, it's a longer battery life.
So this is a better battery life than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, people have been looking at this and saying, oh man, Switch Pro, like this is the new thing. No.
Yeah.
This is just the normal, like this is the new standard of Switch.
Yeah. If you buy a Switch from whatever point onward, it will be this version of the Switch.
Right. And like a lot of people I've heard and listened to have been like, well, they need to be specific. Like there's some new red packaging, but it doesn't have anything that's like now with longer battery life or, new battery life or anything like that. It's just, this is the new standard. So people who are kind of freaking out about it or worried about it, it's just the new standard. So like a couple months after they've kind of rolled these out, like you probably won't even see original Switches unless it's somebody who owns one. So, but I tell you what though, Steven, I'm about sick of being an early adopter because it really sucks that I ordered a day one Switch and this is the exact same thing I own. It just has one little piece, one little component that's different. And so suddenly here I am. I have no reason to buy it. It's not worth selling my old Switch and buying a quote new Switch just to get this little bit of extra battery life.
I mean, I'm the same way. I just got mine, a year ago?
Yeah. See, and I've had mine 2 or 3. So
Yep.
I wish companies would do more to like thank early adopters, and it doesn't have to be big, but like Nintendo, great example. I wish they would send me an email that just says, "Hey, thank you for being a model number, A1101 buyer.
Right.
Somebody who bought the original version within the first year. Thank you for being an early adopter. Here's just a little bit of Nintendo coin, which you can use that's like currency on the shop that you can use for discounts.
Or even just make it to where we make more Nintendo coin to the dollar.
Exactly. And I don't even like half of a game, half of a full price game would be nice, and that's all I'm asking for. That's not a lot, because honestly, I'll get that and I'll buy a game. You'll get that much money back from me because you've gifted me that. But it's just like, I wish more companies would do things like that because it's so frustrating.
One could say that our gift is the fact that we got to enjoy these things earlier. For people who don't have a Switch yet, they haven't gotten to play Breath of the Wild. They haven't gotten to be part of that community. They missed out on Splatoon, Splatfests, or whatever. One could make an argument for that, and to me that's kind of a shallow argument. Although I do feel like I would have missed out on a lot if I had waited to buy the newer model of the Switch. But the fact remains that you do have a lot of those people that have that mentality of, I'll wait for the next version. Mm-hmm. And there would be no next version if there were not those early adopters. And so I feel like there does need to be some kind of care given to them in some kind of gesture.
Yeah.
Because it is frustrating. And eventually, if you don't provide that kind of care for those people, I would say that eventually you won't have any early adopters, but let's face it, it's Nintendo.
Well, and not even Nintendo, anything, Apple, you name it. And that's the thing, that's why I am an early adopter, because I don't have the patience to sit there and say, oh, well, a better version is going to come out later. Like, a better version is always going to come out later, right? Yeah. Like, especially in the age of iPhones, like, there's always that next model that's coming a year from now.
And the company knows that, and that's why they probably don't really seem to care a lot about those early adopters, because they know that if they release something, you'll buy it because you're one of their committed consumers. So I don't know. It would be nice to have some care given to those early adopters, but at the same time, I don't fault them for it as a company. It makes sense. It's business.
I certainly don't fault them, but I do just wish companies, and not even Nintendo. I wish just more companies would do that for you. But anyway, let's talk about something else that's more positive.
Yeah.
The Witcher. Okay, Steven.
Yep.
This Witcher trailer. Oh man, it looks so good. I'm so excited.
I haven't watched the Witcher trailer yet.
Steven.
But to be fair, I know nothing about The Witcher, so I almost kind of want to watch the show without any.
That's probably fair.
Yeah, because like, it's one of those things where I'm not dying to see stuff for it. It's not like a Marvel movie to where like if I see the trailer, I'm just like So the way I figure, like, I could just go in and watch the series and just let it unfold.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I'm gonna do.
That's probably good because like you won't like I'm gonna have a lot of bias from the game because that's what I'm coming into it as. I'm reading the book right now. I'm loving the book. This is going to be the book. So I'm trying, and that's why I'm trying to read the book before this comes out so I kind of know what's going on.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because like, and this is pretty much all I have to say about the Witcher trailer because this is the only bit of impression I've gotten. You look at a Facebook comment for this Witcher trailer gives us our first look at this. You look at a Facebook comment, and the top comment is probably, if this is what they're giving us, this show is going to suck or something. And then the next comment could be like, one I saw was a dude doing emojis, like fans of the game, angry emoji, fans of the book, okay emoji. So it's like there is that disconnect between people who played the game, which is probably a larger demographic than people who read the book.
100% a larger. And the thing about that too is like there was a Witcher 1, there was a Witcher 2. No one knew about this series until Witcher 3, right? Like there are people obviously who knew about it. There are people who obviously read the books before, but like
The Witcher series, like up until 3, I think was PC exclusive, and they were just okay. But then Witcher 3 came out, and it just exploded.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so season, it's going to be 8 episodes. The trailer looks awesome. There was really only one monster fight. There were technically 2, but it was real dark. You couldn't really see the monster. But it looks like they are going to be following the first book, The Last Wish. And it looks so good. There's so many things. Like we saw Yennefer. I didn't know this about Yennefer because I've only played the game, and only 3 at that. Yennefer, who's like the main love interest of Geralt, she has, some sort of like spinal disease, right? Like she doesn't look normal. And she's a sorcerer. She's like a very powerful sorcerer. So that's like why she looks beautiful in the games and like as we know her. So I didn't know that. Like that's cool. I'm not that far in the book yet, so I haven't figured that out. The stuff with Ciri looks awesome. Ciri's running around with elves and is in like a magical desert and all this other stuff. And like there's one of the elves like tells her like you need to find Geralt of Rivia, and then it shows Geralt like in a fight. I'm so excited. The one comment I have about it, and I mentioned this to you guys after I watched it, it looks great. I love where they're going with the story. I think it's going to be good. It just has a teeny tiny little bit of like fan-made feel to it.
Like, does it look like a Sci-Fi Channel original movie? Yeah.
And I wonder if it's just pushing the boundaries of what Netflix is capable of just a little bit. And I really don't know. Like I couldn't tell you, oh man, Steven, go to this time slot on the trailer. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's just if you watch the whole thing, you kind of get that feel. Like the only like, hey, that moment is kind of one of the ones that makes me think of this. The very end of the trailer, it shows Geralt. Whenever Geralt uses potions and stuff, it's basically poison that he's drinking, but his mutant body can handle it. He looks like when that happens, his eyes go black and he's got black veins and like he turns ghost white and all this and that. And when they show that moment before he's about to fight it looks like a Kikimora. It's just a monster. That moment he just looks a little bit like oh CGI. This is not even CG, just like oh this is a fan made thing. And maybe it's because it's not CG. Maybe that's the world we live in, Steven, where I'm so used to everything being CG'd that something that someone actually made and did themselves looks like a fan movie, you know?
Yeah.
And I hate that about myself if that's really what it is. But
I feel like that's just kind of what happens, like the general impression we get from high fantasy stuff from smaller budgets like Netflix.
And and not to say that it looks bad. Like I'm still excited and it looks good. It just has that just a little bit of a feel of just not quite like a Marvel kind of thing, you know? That's just way over the top, or even like a Lion King Disney, you know, like it just doesn't look like, oh my gosh, this is the height of what animation or what special effects can do. It just didn't have that feel, and that's okay. It doesn't have to.
Right.
I'm excited. I'm real excited about it. Okay, speaking of Marvel, we got a whole bunch of Marvel news to go through. So San Diego Comic-Con is going on right now. It's been going on all week, but we finally got to the Marvel panel. DC, to be fair, DC did some stuff too. They showed the first trailer for the Harley Quinn thing. Looks pretty good. I think Kevin Conroy voices Batman in that one. Really, that's a big plus for me.
What?
Yes. Have you heard about this series? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, are you talking about Birds of Prey or?
No. There is an animated Harley Quinn show that's coming to DC Plus, or whatever they call it, DC Universe.
DC Universe. And
it's Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory voices Harley Quinn. They did a teaser last year where it was just her and Poison Ivy in jail, and she was talking about it. And I think Kevin Conroy might have shown up in that teaser as well as Batman. But this was like a full-blown trailer. That looked good. They talked some more about Young Justice, some other stuff.
Young Justice got renewed for a season 4, by the way.
I know they did. I know. I still haven't seen the last season. I don't feel like I can justify getting that subscription just yet.
Right. I'm waiting for Young Justice to complete season 3 and for them to release a PlayStation app for it so that Anna and I can binge Young Justice on a free trial and then just drop it.
And then move on. Yeah, that might be what. Yeah. See, that's maybe what I should do. Wait till, because I'd love to watch this Harley Quinn series, so maybe I should just wait till that's up there. Anyway, I don't want to dive too much into the DC, but I did just want to say, like, hey, they are doing some stuff, but we're going to talk about Marvel. So that's the world we're in. So Marvel announced basically Phase 5. So I'm just going to go down the list. I don't know if this is the order they did it or what, but this is just the order that IGN put this article together. So we're just going to go story by story. So
that's Phase 4, by the way.
That's what, did I say 5? I meant 4. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if this is the first thing announced, but the Eternals has a release date. It's going to be the next movie we see, November 6, 2020. So for it being the next movie we're going to see, no, that's not right. I think Black Widow is first. Black Widow is in May.
Is in May,
Yeah. Anyway, it's May 2020. Like, that's a long time. We have a long way to go before the next Marvel movie, and I kind of hate that. Like, all of these are 2020, 2021, so it's going to be a long, long road. The Eternals is a movie we've known about. Angelina Jolie is in it. Salma Hayek. Thank you. And then Richard Madden, Brian Tyree as Phastos. I don't know anything about the Eternals.
I know nothing about the Eternals.
I've been saying this to people in conversation, and I'd like to know if I'm right or not. The Eternal, like, Thanos was an Eternal, right? Or is he like the descendant of Eternals? I forget how that all works.
No idea.
Because I feel like he has a brother or something who was an Eternal, but like Thanos got rejected by the Eternals and he was the Mad Titan. I don't know where it all comes in. But anyway, I would imagine this is going to be very much a prequel, and it's going to be like before the MCU as we know it kind of movie. So I don't know what they're going to do with this, but it should be very interesting and very different from everything else we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know if this is the order they did it or what, but Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show set to release in fall of 2020 on Disney Plus. Who is the Captain America villain with the sword? Zemo, something like that?
Baron Zemo?
Zemo, that's it. He is going to be in this show.
He was the villain in Civil War.
Yes. So I'm very curious, is it going to be the same guy or is this going to be a new guy? Because at the presentation, he interrupted this announcement in comic correct attire saying, "I will see you soon," or something like that. So the theory is he will be the villain in here that Winter Soldier and Falcon are fighting. The logo, I really like the logo. It's the Falcon. It's a rectangle logo. The Falcon, or it says Falcon, or the rectangle. Imagine a rectangle. Imagine a rectangle, and Cap's shield is in it with like the star to the far right. Okay, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier are top and bottom left aligned. It looks really good. And I really like it because it's basically what I think the show is going to be about is, I guess, about Falcon accepting his role as Captain America, but also I think it's going to be them kind of sharing that role a little bit. And I really think it's cool that they're going to be fighting one of Cap's iconic villains.
Right.
So I'm excited about that one. Any thoughts, Steven? Additions?
I still think it's dumb that Falcon will be Captain America. I hope that they back up on that a little bit and that Bucky ends up becoming Captain America.
I really don't think it's going to be a one or the other. I think they're going to share the mantle to some degree.
Only one person can carry the shield.
I think they're going to toss the shield back and forth.
It shouldn't be the guy with wings. should be the guy that punches things
on the ground. I really do. I really think they're going to kind of share the mantle, but who knows? I don't know. On stage, there's a picture of like Anthony Mackie handing, I forget the guy who plays Winter Soldier.
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, handing him the shield, and he's like holding it for a little bit. So I don't know. That to me, and it could just be they're having fun on stage, but I feel like it's going to be them sharing the role a little bit. But who knows? Yeah. The next one is Shang-Li and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, when I say Legend of the Ten Rings, Steven, what does that bring to mind for you?
The Mandarin.
Okay, great. I read that probably 7 times, and it wasn't until I actually like read past the headline and I saw the Mandarin, and I went, oh yeah, 10 Rings. It's like, duh. Yep. So anyway, Shang-Li has been announced for February 12th. I'm sorry, Shang-Chi. I was thinking, I was in my head, I was thinking Legends, and I didn't just want to finish it, so it turned into anyway. February 12th, 2021. Feige told the crowd that Mandarin is in the film, and apparently there was a 10 Rings logo shown in Ant-Man, and he said that he thinks most people missed that.
No, I didn't miss that.
Where was it? This was an Ant-Man 1?
It was an Ant-Man 1 when Cross is trying to sell the Yellow Jacket suit. There's a representative of Hydra and there's a representative of the 10 Rings there.
Interesting.
And he's got like the mark on his tattoo, like a tattoo or something.
Interesting. Okay. Awesome. Well, so
I think that's what it was.
It looks like Shang-Chi will be fighting the Mandarin, which I think works.
See, I'm excited for that movie because I think seeing the real Mandarin, they confirmed it will be the real Mandarin, not the one we got in Iron Man 3. I think that could be really cool. And Shang-Chi, I'm curious to see what they'll do to make him useful because as far as I know, he's just a guy that's really good at Kung Fu.
I mean, if Black Widow can be even a little bit
Black
useful.
Widow is not that useful, though. She's never been that useful.
I mean, I don't disagree, but it is funny that we've had Iron Fist, right? And Iron Fist, you know.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on that.
And now we've got, because I mean, to me, from what I know, and I don't know a ton, but like from just a base level, it sounds like they're the same character, except one has superpowers and one doesn't.
They're very, very, very different. They both are excellent martial artists. Shang-Chi is more adept at traditional martial arts, but Danny is on another level because of the fist and because of the arts that he knows that Shang-Chi is incapable of. They like, on the surface level, it's kind of like the people who think that Moon Knight and Batman are very similar because they look similar, but there is a lot of difference when you get deeper. And I'm excited to see Shang-Chi. I think it'll be cool to have an Asian lead.
It will.
But I think that, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Go ahead.
WandaVision is the next one. It's announced for spring 2021. So a lot of these TV shows are going to fill up a lot of time in between. But all they really commented about this show is that it's very strange. And Elizabeth Olsen said, we're going to get weird, like really weird. We're going to go very deep. So I imagine the show is going to be about them getting Vision back and then probably exploring a little bit of what is it like to love a robot. And it's probably going to be very Westworldy in the sense of like what makes a person, you know?
Well, it takes place in the 1950s, but doesn't. Because, like, I don't know if you saw that, but it takes place in the 1950s, yet somehow after Endgame.
I don't know how that works.
Time travel?
I mean, I guess, right? That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't know. I think it sounds dumb, but we'll see.
Speaking of dumb, Loki was also announced for spring 2021. This is they said literally that this, and I mean they've kind of confirmed a theory of the scene where Loki steals the Tesseract in Endgame. This is what follows. Yep. Is all they really said about it. So it's going to be the alternate reality Loki that was created, and who knows?
So none of it matters.
Will he come back? Will anything that happens in that show matter? No one knows.
No, it won't. Ask the Defenders if any of the things they did mattered.
I that is a fair comment, but I really think, and maybe this is just the stupid optimist in me, but I really think this is going to be a whole different Marvel TV.
It will. They've even said, and this might be the next one you're going to mention, but what happens in WandaVision is going to play directly into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because Scarlet Witch is in it.
Is in it, yes. I didn't know that until I read it, or someone was telling me about it over lunch. But what I was going to say, I think it's going to be very different. You've confirmed that. Like their Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is ending, right? Like this is the next season is the last season. Yeah. And so I really think with everything being on Disney Plus, they're going to make it more important.
Yeah, we're entering a new age of Marvel television. I just wish they would have waited to do Iron Fist and Daredevil and the gang till now. Because
not to get too much on a tangent, but do you think there's a possibility that they could not reboot, but just like jump straight to Defenders 2 on Disney Plus and bring back those actors and just keep it rolling?
No.
Okay.
The only one they might be able to do that for would be probably Daredevil and Jessica Jones, because they were the only ones that received critical acclaim to an extent to where you could argue to bring them back, but there's no way we're going to get Finn Jones back as Iron Fist. Which sucks because I think he was very capable, but he was just never given a chance.
Yeah. Well, like Luke Cage, I know a lot of people liked Luke Cage. Obviously, a lot of people like Daredevil. I really like Jessica Jones. I think it's probably on the lower of that rung. And then I don't think Iron Fist did very well in anyone's opinion. But I don't know. I would like to see them come back. I never saw the third season of Daredevil, so I don't know where he ended. I know Jessica Jones ends in a weird place where I don't know that she would come back. And then obviously Danny, Iron Fist ended. It just ended.
He's in China or Japan or something, and it's the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent there. May 7th, 2021. So freaking long from now. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes,
will be released.
Nightmare will be the villain.
Nightmare will be the villain. It's going to be psychedelic weirdness and gothic horror. Is what they said.
Yeah, they said it's going to be the MCU's first horror movie, which Scott Derrickson, the director of the first Doctor Strange, and this one is a horror director. He did the Insidious movies and Sinister, I think. Maybe not Insidious, maybe it was. He did some horror movies, and it'll be interesting to see him flex that. I just hope they don't make it a horror movie where Doctor Strange is helpless. You know,
right?
I want to see them expound on his sorcery.
So talk to me about Wanda being in this, because I hadn't read that anywhere yet. Someone literally told me that today over lunch. So what you knew that off the bat. So what was there anything else said or explained about that, or?
Well,
I know we're only getting like piecemeal of what they talked about, and they probably only piecemealed even there, but like just whatever they said.
So all we know so far is that Scarlet Witch will be in it, and the events of WandaVision will feed directly into her arc in Doctor Strange.
Interesting.
It's a natural progression because Scarlet Witch has always been, well, I say always, has very often been portrayed as a student of magic, and she has teamed up with Doctor Strange on multiple occasions. So it makes sense. But I don't know. We'll see.
I love team-ups, so I'm down for this pair-up. I want Spider-Man and Doctor Strange together, but I guess I'll have to wait another day. But
yeah, we're not going to get Mr. Strange, help me. help me make everyone's memories go away.
So
we're not going to get
can we talk about how? Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Then Marvel's first animation called What If. We've been talking about this series for a while. That's going to be summer of 2021. And basically, all they really said about that, I'm sure they explained what it was, which is kind of they're offshoot comics that are not canon. It's just like, what if, Pepper Potts became Iron Man, or what if Loki found Thor's hammer, or what if, all these different things. What if Peggy Carter became Captain America? Like, that's the first one I think we're doing. So that's what they're doing animated, and Kevin just kind of said, or Feige, he was like, hey, look, this is going to be really exciting. This will be something we've never had the opportunity to do before, so it'll be different. Yeah. I'm excited about that one.
Me too. That'll be good.
It'll be a lot of fun. I really just like those like what if questions of like, what would have happened like if this had gone differently. So the next one is the Hawkeye TV series. It will be fall of 2021. All these TV shows are going to be bumping up against each other, and I love it.
Yep. The Hawkeye TV series is going to be Clint passing the mantle to Kate Bishop, which I'm annoyed by it because people are over there pining for a Black Widow movie. Like, oh, her character's so great. Oh, she's so great. Give her a movie. Even though they forget that what makes her character good and intriguing is the fact that we don't know much about her past. So have fun with that, guys. But, and then, spoiler alert for Avengers Endgame, she's dead. And now we're getting a movie for her, and yet Hawkeye's over here, and we're getting a TV show about him going away. And Hawkeye, in most senses of the phrase, is a better character than Black Widow in the comics. And we haven't gotten to see him be that character yet because no one wants to give him that kind of opportunity, and it's been frustrating because I love Hawkeye as a character, but we just haven't gotten enough time with him.
So Jeremy Renner is going to star. Kate Bishop has been confirmed for the series, but her role is unknown. And then they talked about how they're going to explore more of his time as Ronin. So, Steven, you're talking about him passing on the mantle.
Kate Bishop in the comics took up the mantle of Hawkeye when Clint put it down. So I feel like that's the direction they're headed.
Yes. I don't think that means Jeremy Renner's out.
I hope not.
I think this is, hey, Hawkeye is now Ronin. Who's the new Hawkeye, right? And I feel like Kate Bishop is gonna be his daughter, right? Is that not how that's always gone?
No, Kate Bishop was never his daughter. She was just a girl who teamed up with him.
Gotcha.
To my knowledge.
Interesting. Well, I just know like in Endgame, his daughter was like training to use a bow, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best evolution is to just let her team up with him somehow, but I don't know. I hope this doesn't mean the end of Jeremy Renner's character.
I love Jeremy Renner, and I want him to get the opportunity to be more of a character. We just haven't gotten to see that, and I enjoyed him as Ronin, but for him to continue as Ronin kind of wouldn't make sense because Ronin was where he went in a dark place. So for Ronin to continue would be confusing to me.
Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait so freaking long. And then I know this is the one that we're probably going to talk about the most, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it here anyway. Thor 4 was officially announced. Its title is Thor, Love and Thunder. It will be Natalie Portman in the role of female Thor. The movie is set to be released on November 5th, 2021, with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson in the movie as well. Now, Steve, I know we have a lot of thoughts on this. But before,
can I...
Well, you go ahead. I have one very specific question that I want to ask you because someone said this to me at lunch, and I was very confused. So I just want to get there and talk about this and see if this is your thought as well. But go ahead.
I'm going to set the stage real quick because when we did the raid on Saturday, Brody was watching.
Broke to us live on the raid.
Yeah, and it's kind of hilarious. You should watch it if you have the opportunity. Brody was giving us updates from Hall H. He wasn't actually there, but he was at work.
He was just on Twitter, yeah.
So Brody, the first update he gives us, which, Brody, if you're watching, you don't lead with that. You don't lead with this. Give us things to make us know that you're being serious. Because Brody just randomly says, Thor, Love and Thunder is coming in 2021. Natalie Portman will be female Thor. I read that, and I read it to the chat to the raid group, and I laughed, and Scott laughed, and Jake was like, "Screw you, Brody. That's not funny." And then Brody, and I'm quoting him here. Brody puts a link in the chat and goes, "Kiss my ass," because he was not joking. And I looked at the link and I was like, "Oh no, guys. Love and Thunder's real."
Love and Thunder.
And it was like we all just got terrible news.
I don't think it's terrible news.
It's terrible news. Terrible. Okay, what was your question?
No, well, I want to talk about it a little bit more. So okay. I really like the comic book where Jane Foster becomes Thor for a little while, and does all of that, and it's about her struggle. Because spoilers for the comic, I think she has cancer in it or something, and that's like because she's Thor, she's able to like survive through the cancer, but as soon as she's ready to give it up, she's basically gonna die. But then it's also like Thor wasn't worthy at the time, so he was kind of earning back his worthiness. So there was a lot of really interesting arcs going on with it. So I'm all about it. I'm all about this idea. The problems I have with it are Natalie Portman. So I have conflicting thoughts here. Number one, if you're going to bring a character back, keep the original actor, right? I much prefer that to, hey, let's replace with somebody else, okay? So the problem, and I know you disagree with what I'm about to say, Steven, but I don't think that Natalie Portman is a bad actress. I think she's fine.
I don't think she's a bad actress, but I'll clarify that in a minute.
Okay. What I'm frustrated with is she has been gone since Thor 2, right? We hadn't seen her. She hadn't been in any other movie. She was mentioned in Avengers 2 kind of as a, oh, well, where's Jane? We're not talking right now, like whatever. Thor. So they have been separated with no explanation other than just offhand comments for how many movies now, you know?
It's been since 2011.
Right. And basically, from all accounts, it was Natalie Portman didn't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
So I'm a little frustrated that you gonna come up in here now and say, "What up, y'all? I'm back," but with a hammer. That's how she came back on stage. And
so
I'm just a little frustrated. Like, if you want to be out, be out. That's fine. But like, don't come back up in here now that this is a thing and be like, "Oh wait, I want to be a superhero now." It's like, okay, whatever. Sorry, go ahead.
So Natalie Portman is a good actress when she's trying. When there's an Oscar on the line, she's a good actress. She has been in a lot of serious roles where she has a very good range of control over emotional scenes. She has proven that. She is a terrible actress when she's not trying, and she was not trying in the Marvel movies, and I bet you money she won't try in these either because it's the same character. And you ask anybody, the worst part of Thor 1 and 2 was Jane Foster, not because it was Natalie Portman, but because the character was just so stale and just came off as such a ditzy woman that was just drooling over Thor the whole time, and she was the main focus. And I don't see that changing because that was largely. I say ditzy. She was an intelligent character, but ditzy is the PG version of the word I would probably use. I don't know. I hate her character. I was glad to see her go, and I have no idea why they're doing this because the fan base hates Jane Foster. And for them to do this seems really sketchy to me because it doesn't feel right. Like we even talked they'd revitalize the character of Thor. Mjolnir's gone, so there doesn't need to be another Thor. In fact, how are we getting another Thor beyond the one we have when there is no hammer to give worthiness? It just feels really forced and unnecessary. So
beyond any of that, like, you know, let's just say whatever. I've got some. So this is not the big question I want to ask you about, but my number one question is: last we saw Thor, he was with the Guardians, right? We've got one more movie to talk about. It's not Guardians 3. So they didn't talk about Guardians 3 other than, hey, this is still coming, but it's Phase 5. Like,
and Thor is confirmed in Guardians 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does that work? Like, is Guardians 3 going to be a prequel? Are we going to see what Thor did before he was with Natalie again? Like, what's up with that? Is he just going to be, poof, I'm here to help the new Thor? Because, wait a minute, how are you Thor? Like, how is this going to all fall together?
Yeah.
And also, who would you say is probably the most requested person out of the Thor movies? I'll give you a hint. He was teased in Thor Ragnarok.
I'm not sure
I forget his name. It's Bill something, the horse Thor.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill, yeah.
Beta Ray Bill. He's teased in Ragnarok. His head is like part of a statue.
He's one of the Sicarian.
He's one of their warriors. Yeah. Why is this not a Beta Ray Bill movie, right? Like, why are we not just bringing him in? Because doesn't he use Stormbreaker?
He uses a dinky little hammer that looks kind of like Stormbreaker, but it's the size of Mjolnir.
Gotcha.
I don't understand. I don't know. My comic knowledge of Thor is very limited. It might be Stormbreaker, and they may have taken that from Beta Ray Bill. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, this feels out of nowhere and a bad idea. Like,
and to be fair,
it doesn't make
Beta
sense.
Ray Bill could show up. I have no idea, but
he could. But this just doesn't make sense. I don't know.
My other thing,
I don't like it.
If Natalie Portman is going to be Thor, what is Chris Hemsworth going to be? And is it going to be a movie about him, or is it going to be about Jane Foster? Because, again, I'm very confused. I just don't know. And Tessa Thompson is going to be in this, which, I love Valkyrie. I'm all about this. Give us more Valkyrie. But, like, what is she going to do? And also, the Rock guy, I'm blanking on his name.
Korg.
Yes, him and what's his little friend? Meek. They're going to be in it, like, supposedly in a larger role than they had last time. Like,
yeah.
That's a lot of people. And, like, yes, they've done Endgame with a lot of people, but, like, on a movie where it's, like, a title character, you know, where it's, like, it should be focusing on one, maybe two people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
so
very curious about this movie.
So this is where I'm starting to feel like Taika Waititi might have pushed for this, and that worries me because Taika did a really good job with Thor Ragnarok, but and we can all be like, oh yeah, his style is so silly and 80s and fun, but this is a multitude of interconnected movies, and while we do want to say the creator should have the freedom to create, that doesn't mean that everything should halt so that one person who just happens to have done a good job once can do whatever they want and bring everything to a halt. That's how you get something like Last Jedi.
I don't think it's going to be that. Because even when
it's not going to be Last Jedi bad, but
well, even when they got on stage and talked about it, they were like, "This is the cast. This is what we're doing. We don't have a script yet." It's like, we don't have anything. Like, we can tell you that we're pulling from a very specific, the Mighty Thor comic book line is what we're basing the script off of, but we don't have anything yet. Like, we know we're making the movie. This is what it's going to be called. This is who's going to be in it. That's all we got.
That really worries me. If they don't have a script yet, then it's like...
It doesn't worry me because, again, it's coming out November 5th, 2021. We have, like, 2.5 years to wait for this movie.
Yeah, but but they... Like, if they're working independently like to where they don't have a script, and maybe that was just them saying like we haven't written the actual movie yet, but we know the beats.
I'm sure they have the beats, but they don't have a full script.
I don't know. It will be a challenge for anyone to convince me that this is a good idea, because I just don't see any silver lining in this movie. It sounds terrible.
To summarize, I really like the idea. I just am a little bitter that Natalie Portman, who wanted out, now wants back in, and we're just going to let her. But I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with it. And honestly, if anyone's going to make it work, Takiti would be my number one choice to make it happen.
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi. That's a hard name for me. I'm just going to call him TW, all right? TW is the man to make it happen, if it's going to happen. Now, Steven, before we move on, because we've talked a lot about this movie, when I say to you, Steven, Thor, Love and Thunder, well, let me ask you this. Do you assume this will have some sort of romantic relationship in this movie?
Yeah.
Steven, let me ask you again. Thor, Love and Thunder. Who do you think will have this? Who will be the two in love in this movie?
One would assume Thor and Jane Foster.
Okay. I'm glad that's what you thought. Someone at lunch brought up to me, and hey, to each their own, and I'm actually for this storyline. Someone told me that it's going to be Jane Foster and Tessa Thompson's character, Valkyrie, who are actually in love. And like, I'm okay with that, because Jane and Thor have had a troubled history in the MCU. But like, what? Where is this coming from?
We already knew that Valkyrie was written as gay.
Well, and that's fine. I'm all for that. I've seen a lot of people put shipping her with Captain Marvel, and I'm all about that. That's fine. But like, I'm very confused. Like, is that what they're going for?
Probably.
Interesting.
Because I don't know. I hate the whole idea. I hate all of it. I probably won't see it.
You'll see it.
I probably won't.
You'll go with me. We'll go see it together.
Okay. I don't think you want that.
I don't think you want that. Okay. Actually, not the last one to talk about. I'm sorry. Black Widow movie, May 1st, 2020. This is the first one we'll have. Still a long ways off. Yeah. They introduced the cast. David Harborough, who is playing the Red Guardian, which is basically Russian Captain America.
Okay.
And they have said that this is going to take place between Civil War and Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which again, the time frame of this movie just is very strange, because it also talks about, we're going to find out what happens or what happened in Budapest, which is what she and Hawkeye reference all the time in all the movies. But like, they've referenced it since Avengers 1. So like, unless we're just going back to Budapest and we're going to, along the way in present day, figure out what happened in the past, like, I don't know. This is a weird movie. I'm very curious where it's going to go.
I hate the whole, we have to find out what happened in Budapest thing, because it was such a throwaway line that fans freaked out over. It's like Black Widow says, it's like Budapest all over again. And Hawkeye says, you and I remember Budapest very differently. It is very easy to interpret that as Black Widow was saying that because they probably got in some kind of firefight where they were surrounded. Mm-hmm. And Hawkeye said that in response in a witty way to her. It was like, oh, so you remember there being aliens at Budapest? Because I don't remember that. And yet people for the past 7 years have been like, oh, give us a movie. Give us a movie. I hate it's been really obnoxious, because it's like, we don't need a movie about that. We really don't. We don't need this Black Widow movie to feel like it has to answer questions that aren't even being asked, that shouldn't be asked. I don't know. I get annoyed with fandoms, and Marvel's fandom is starting to get on my nerves more and more. It's getting too big for itself.
So they're going to look at Budapest. There's supposedly going to be multiple Black Widows in this. And what I mean by that is Black Widow is like, she was trained at
multiple Red Room graduates.
Yeah, exactly. And so there will be more of those. It's not like, to my knowledge, it's not like we're going to have a multiverse Black Widow show up and be like, yo, what up? I'm the new Black Widow. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. But that's the first one we're going to get. So hopefully it'll tell us something important, because she's dead. And I don't know how this movie being a prequel could make her come back. But who knows? I don't know anymore. Then the last thing they announced, Steven, Blade.
The one announcement out of the movies that I have absolutely zero criticisms about.
I'm really going to butcher this name. Mahershala Ali?
Mahershala Ali, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Mahershala Ali, who is an Emmy-winning actor. He's great. He was in Moonlighter, or no, is it
Moonlight?
Moonlight. He was in True Detective season 3.
You know what I just realized? He was the villain in Luke Cage.
He was. Mm-hmm. The first one.
How are they going to explain?
Luke Cage doesn't exist, Steven. It was all in your imagination.
I think he was Prowler in Spider-Verse.
Ooh, plot twist, Steven. What if Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Iron Fist all took place in the same universe that this Loki show is going to take place in, right? They're in that timeline.
I thought about that.
That's how you explain it away.
Probably not. One could argue that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. maybe took place in that timeline too, but...
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is just so off the wall. Like, every now and then I'll see trailers for stuff that's going on, and I'm just like, how...
They stopped caring like 4 seasons ago.
Yeah, I was like, what? How did you guys get here? Like, what is...
Yeah.
What is happening?
Space right now.
I would love to watch a video of just like, hey, here's a quick synopsis of what's happened.
I think I'm going to do that. That's a good idea.
Because I don't have time to watch the whole show, but yeah. I just need someone to tell me how they got from the point I dropped off, which was probably shortly after, what's her name? Daisy something is the actress. I can't remember. Or no, is that her real name? No.
Daisy's her real name.
Okay. Anyway, whenever she got her powers,
I remember these freaking
and the
names,
Inhuman storyline started, that's when I kind of dipped out. But
yeah, the actress name is Chloe Bennett, and I don't know how I remember all these actor names.
I'm
like
so proud of you, Steven. I'm so proud.
Thank you.
But anyway, that's it. So Blade should be really good. They didn't talk about release date or anything. They just kind of said
he's a great pick for Blade, though.
Oh yeah, great pick. They did talk about. They mentioned briefly, hey, we are planning the X-Men. The X-Men are coming. Hey, we are doing stuff with Fantastic Four. That's coming. Black Panther 2 is confirmed. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is confirmed. But those are going to be Phase 5s. That's a lot of movies. A lot of good and a lot of shows. No other Spider-Man. I'm surprised Guardians is going to be Phase 5. And no Avengers, Steven.
I mean, I'm not surprised by that at all. They've got to establish a foundation again before they...
Yeah, but didn't Phase 1 culminate at the Avengers?
It did, but that was also when you could justify building that kind of team through 3 or 4 movies. But now we've gotten so big to where they can justify spending more time developing more characters so they can do culmination movies as events rather than teams.
I agree 100%. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of ChortleCast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. Number 1, you're already watching youtube.com/ChortleGames. ChortleGames.com as well would work to get you there. I don't know how I got off the trail there. If you're watching there, you're already at ChortleGames.com. You can share this video with your friends, leave a comment, let us know what you think about all these Marvel movies that are coming. Are you excited for Witcher? And then do you think people should reward early adopters of things? Let us know in the comments. You can also, if you're an audio listener, you're listening to us through iTunes podcast, you can leave us a review. That really helps people find the podcast. We'd appreciate it greatly. Please 4 stars or above. It's a joke. We know we deserve so much less. If you're following along, you can email us at ChortleCast@gmail.com. Let us know topics you'd like to hear us talk about, maybe a news story you've heard, general just questions you'd like to hear us talk about. Love to hear from you. You can also do that through our Discord. You can get to that through the description of this video or podcast, or the safest place is to go to ChortleGames.com, go to our banner. There's a little logo. Click that, and that's probably the best way to get to it. Or just watch a stream, and our mod, Kalen, will put the link in there, and that will get you there, because Kalen's better than I am. And then last but not least, you can follow us at Twitter and Facebook, both at Chortle Games. Steven, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part. Steven, did you know this isn't the only thing we do on Chortle Games? Did you know that?
Please tell me more. Yeah.
Okay. The podcast airs 12 o'clock every Monday, Central Time. Then Tuesday or Thursday, we do this little thing we call Tea Time, which stands for Tuesday or Thursday Team Up Day. Tea Time's so much better. I really love that. I'm going to start holding my pinky up for that. Tea Time.
It's very concise.
Tea Time this week will be Thursday. We will probably be playing Destiny. I really hope we can get Big Germ to play with us. That would be great.
Yeah. I'll work on that.
Get the old team back together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My favorite part of the raid was probably when we had been going. We were just hard at work, and we're all talking about something, and just under the baseline, I heard Big Germ go, "Man, I miss you guys."
Yep.
And I was like, Big Germ, you son of a bitch, I love you. We miss you too. He's great. But anyway, then Wednesday we will have a Let's Play for you. That's a shorter edited content. It's going to be the first of what I can only assume will be multiple episodes of For the King, which is a turn-based game. Big Germ is actually in it. He's a non-playable character that we made to be our partner in the game. Yes. So he's in it, so that'll be exciting. It will probably become more than one part, because I'm pretty sure we filmed at least 2.5 hours of it, and it was very complex. So I'm sure it'll be multiple episodes, but it'll be very funny and entertaining. So look forward to that. And then Friday, I think there's a game that comes out Friday. Steven, have you heard about it?
It's called Fire Emblem. I may have talked about it once or twice.
Have you? Is that where I've heard about it?
Probably. I've been trying to convince you to buy it for a while. So.
Oh, that's that one. That's the one. Okay. That comes out Friday. I am going to be out of town. I am going to be... In fact, Steven, I told you this earlier, but this is a thing that you and I need to get better about. To some degree. To some degree, we need to get better about it. When we go to, big things, we mentioned this, I think, when we went to Disney, but, when we go to big events, we need to tell people that we're going to be there. Because you went to Mississippi Comic-Con, and you talked to me about it on the podcast here after the fact. What we didn't know until later was one of our subs, he and I see each other every now and then on a Sunday, and he came up to me and was like, "I had no idea Steven was going to be at Comic-Con. I was there, and I totally would have said hi, because he was like, I was in cosplay, it would have been a great moment." And I was just
I may have even seen him, because
you probably did, because I'm sure there weren't a ton of people in cosplay. So, and his was really good. He showed me a photo of it, and I was like, wow. And I told him, I was like, I wouldn't have recognized you. It was like, you could have come and punched me, and I would have been like, what is happening? Because he was unrecognizable. But anyway, all that to say, we need to start doing that, with fairness. I'm going to be at this little thing called the Neshoba County Fair this weekend. Anybody in Mississippi is going to be there. I'll be around. I'm probably going to be in a cabin cooling off. But if you see me, feel free to say hi. All right? I love it. But anyway, we need to get better about that. But I'm going to say that. All that to say, there ain't not going to be no Wi-Fi at this place that I'm going to. So Steven's going to be streaming this weekend, and it's probably going to be Fire Emblem.
It's going to be Fire Emblem and then something else, or maybe just more Fire Emblem.
My money is on more Fire Emblem, but you do what you want to do, Steven.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, so Fire Emblem it is. That's what I just heard. All right, but anyway, that's going to be this week for you. We hope you stick around. Hope you stay tuned. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We'll see you around. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.